Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to this YouTube channel. It's your guy Igor here. Today's sad video is dedicated to international students who failed in Canada. Top 5 reasons why they fail in Canada miserably. And well, this video is dedicated to those students from an international students who watched a bunch of people who studied with me in Centennial College in Ontario, in Toronto, in Scarborough, on Progress Avenue, who really wanted to come to Canada, who really wanted to stay here. Let's first identify what I mean by failure. By failure, I mean they spent a lot of money coming to Canada with the hopes of immigration, but they were forced as newcomers, as new immigrants, they were forced to go back home, back to where they came from to their life that they had, and were not able to become successful in Canada for one or another reason. So I want to cover this in this video as an international student myself who came to Canada, who ended up getting work permit, who went through the entire hustle and who was able to get permanent residency and was able to get Canadian citizenship. And well, I think, you know, I'm pretty successful in that way, just like many of you. But there is a big percentage of people who they don't succeed in Canada. And here is one. Why, guys? Well, first of all, financials. As you may know, coming to Canada as an international student, I started to realize how broke I was. Today, let me show you for a second here. I went to a Starbucks and I had a coffee. It's not too expensive, but my God, how expensive was it when I was an international student? How expensive this cup is if you have no income and you're coming from another country. I'm in my backyard so I can litter here a little bit. I'll pick it up anyways. So yes, I ended up buying a house here, a couple of properties, and now I have my own business in Canada. But before that, I was broke, international student from Eastern Europe. And guys, I watched other students like myself. Okay, I'll tell some names of people from Eastern Europe who I watched fail in Canada. I hope they don't get too offended. I'll just say first names so you can't identify them. I'm not going to show their faces. Michael, Mihail. He was one of the more fortunate ones who was actually able to get permanent residency, but still he went back. Dmitro from Ukraine, Dima, he really wanted to stay. He didn't want to go back to Ukraine, and you know what's happening there right now. We didn't know that is going to happen, this entire situation. So he really wanted to stay. He did his best. He went back. He couldn't get his immigration done. Oleg, same kind of story. Literally gave up and left to Moscow, to Russia. So like very bad stories, very bad, because those people, they came here, they hated the life back home, they had so much of hope, so much of expectations, and they went back. They failed on their dream, on what they wanted to. Like, I don't want to label it as failure. Maybe they changed their minds. I don't want them to feel bad about it, but these 3 guys I studied with, I know personally, failed in staying in Canada, being successful. Number 1 is, let me tell you the reasons why I think might be contributing to the reason to why that happened. Number 1, financials. It's expensive. For example, my friend Dima, he couldn't get for 2 years of education to get a 3-year work permit after graduation. So financials. Plus 2 other reasons. I'll go through all of them, but not to say all the details about that specific person. But let's do it. Financials, guys. Financials. It's 3 times more expensive to study in Canada. It's very difficult to come here from another country to study like that. And then all this, I'm just going to pick up this cup. Coffee. Like this, expenses. International students, we walk this Instagram, TikTok, social media, we like taking selfies. Look at all my friends, I'm in Canada and I'm drinking Starbucks, and you're back home, you can't afford it. It's so nice. They go broke like that. First of all, not making any income, not having enough money for education, first place to afford, and now spending, going to those Instagram shots. Oh, we went out, yeah, we went clubbing. Like, I had friends from Eastern Europe, they would drink all the time. They would go and they would actually get drunk before they go to a nightclub in other. So spending way more money than you can afford. And running out of money, not managing their financing. You know, if you're going to Toronto as international, so let me give this cup here so I don't garbage it. If you're in Toronto, you are, you know, the rent is so expensive. So people do not manage their money well. They might even have enough, but you know, the rent and everything, not taking everything into account, the transportation, the books that you have to pay. So you pay tuition, but books are separate. You know, like my friends, my students that I studied with, oh, that's not allowed in Canada. But you know what they did? They copied books. I had people in my college who couldn't afford books. They would literally go to a friend and click pictures on the phone and read that chapter for exam, because they could not afford having books in Canada. So running out of money, you know, and going back home, it's pretty miserable if you can't afford your semester to finish that. Now also expectations. You come to Canada and, you know, unfortunately you look all those colleges. Guys, I was in a marketing department. I was there. They invited me as an international student to portray the diversity of the college. So they try to get a diverse group of people just to show that, you know, like there's diversity in that college when people are coming to Canada. But in reality, I came in, there's a handful of Eastern Europeans, majority of Indian people there. That's where I met my wife. We have 2 kids now in Centennial College, and a bunch of Chinese guys. Not much diversity at all. So I know, because I was selected to the diversity group just to show that there are different people. So to lure you into Canada to study there, you come to a college. I had expectations of being in the Canadian group. I had expectation to build relationships and networking events and things like that, so that after graduation I can get a job in Canada. But the reality is, guys, is pretty bad. Is there was only international students and there was no job prospect, there was no job placements or any kind of things that I was hoping for. And the entire education system is basically, they're making money on it. But the reality, guys, I was not blinded by that. That's why I was able to finish my immigration. My goal was to actually get a work permit. So after graduating, you can get a work permit, and with that work permit, you can get your immigration done. Hey guys, just shooting a YouTube video. So you can get your immigration done after the work permit, because once you graduate, for example, with a 2-year work permit from a 2-year program, you know, you can actually get a 3-year work permit, which can help you with immigration, things like that. So in that, having that in mind, you know, besides all the other things that by those recruiting agents that are getting you into a Canadian college, let's say. So if you think about it in that way, like I did, it's less of a disappointment when you don't get what you want, you know, like you don't get what you expected. And one of those things is, it actually ruins your entire mental well-being if you're not able to succeed like that by immigrating to Canada. So expectations. For example, one of my Eastern European friends had to go back to Moscow. Why? Because the employers, he expected more from Canadian employers. He came to the world's most advanced, beautiful country, and the employers here are less advanced than in Russia, than in Moscow. Office buildings, he said, are garbage here. You know, the office conditions, the equipment, the management system is not up to the mark. You might be coming from India and you might be working in a better office in the same branch of the same company. People here think they're on top of the world, but expectations and the reality, and including the pay, might not be as big as you expected when you came here. So some people just got disappointed and they are like, okay, I wasted all this money, I came here, I studied, but I don't want to stay here. Like, you know what, I'm leaving. So they left. Is it a failure or not? It's their decision, but having the right expectation would definitely help you be more successful and don't expect too much of this country, unfortunately. Next part about it, job matters, job search. Oh my God, guys, you know, like people, it's difficult to find, it's difficult to find a job. So you come to Canada, you're in college, you go like, oh my God, I remember this Brian Press, one of the professors we had, other guys, communications and things. I was like, I'm the best of the best, and like we are the best of the best in our groups. We are learning this, we know so much. We're going to graduate, get an amazing job in Canada, but then the reality strike. There's so many students like us, nobody cares about that college education that I had. Nobody cares about it. always just provide the jobs and nobody cares, and most of the people who are out there on the workplace like, yeah, you need a work experience, and we don't count your back home experience. So yeah, you need to have, you need to have a work experience in Canada, so we don't want to hire you, like we don't want to. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, education doesn't matter, because I don't have education. Like, what's your education if you don't have work experience? Because they never study, they have no idea. But anyways, okay, we'll not go that way. We're not going to discriminate people for not having education, but they discriminate you because you spend 5 years and so much of money studying and you still don't get a job. And the fun fact is, there's so many international students graduating in Ontario and Toronto. That's why I moved to Alberta. That's why I moved to Calgary, guys. And honestly, once I finished immigration and everything, I became a realtor here. I started my own business, so I'm a realtor with the XP in Calgary, Alberta. I help people buy and sell real estate now, and I find myself being pretty successful in what I do. It's amazing. But anyways, the short story is, I was able to get everything done, and I moved here because there were more jobs and more opportunities here, and not as crowded as there in Ontario, Scarborough, where I lived. And over the years it got worse there, so I'm blessed to be here. That's why I think the province is the best. But anyways, that's the reality. Difficult to find a job. Another part is why people fail is networking. Oh my goodness, guys, how did I meet my wife from India? How did we get married? We got married in Canada, then we went in India and we had a ceremony in India. So we got married like 2 times, literally, because one was like official here, the other one was like more ceremonial for the family. Okay. I'm so happy, guys. I was one of the few people who networked. That's why my wife is from India, not from Ukraine or from Eastern Europe, anywhere. Because one of the professors came to us on a trip to Niagara Falls, and they said, you, bunch of Eastern European guys, that bus, you are here to network. And that's how I met my wife. I didn't live here alone ever since then. But anyways, long story short, networking is people, guys, you stick to your groups. Punjabi guys, stick to Punjabi guys, Indian guys, stick to, in India there is lots of other cultures. So Punjabis with Punjabis, South Indians, Tamil Nadu with Tamil Nadu, Gujaratis with Gujaratis, Indian guys with Indians, Chinese guys with Chinese guys, Mandarin, Cantonese. They go into their own ethnical groups. Eastern Europeans, Russians, Ukrainians, another group. Now they're a little bit divided, but doesn't matter. So you tend to stick to your own group and you don't interblend with Canadian culture. You are living in Canada, you're speaking your own language, you are living in Canada, you're eating your own food, and you are exposed only to international students like yourself, and you don't see even a glimpse of Canadian culture. You have absolutely no understanding of how the country operates, on how to find jobs, how to network, and to have the right expectations. You have what you learn in the books and what they tell you in college, and those things are there just because they're there to make money off you. The entire Canadian education system is to make a lot of money from international students like ourselves. To be precise, 3 times more than Canadians pay. Plus you have to pay for the books, and plus we come from broke countries, like for example myself. I cannot speak for you, but I come from very poor background from back home, like really poor country. And guys, you don't want to know my childhood in my 1990s. I don't want to go into those details, but I just want to say that yes, how do you become successful in Canada? You have to have Canadian friends, or at least friends from another culture, to get you a better idea on what's happening. Now finally, the final reason why international students fail, and that was Dima's case, that was one of my friends from Ukraine, is, well, it's a combination of everything, but basically, difficult. I also wanted to mention, I skipped that point, is the immigration programs are pretty difficult. So searching for a job, not networking. I'm actually going more than 5 reasons, but doesn't matter. Difficult immigration program. So coming to Canada as an international student, you should be doing your research, watch and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and learn about different immigration programs. It's so complicated. Which province you're in, which city you're in, what's the municipal immigration, do they have that pilot program, or provincial immigration program, or federal immigration program, and how do you get there? How do you build your English, your work experience, other things? People have expectations, so I'm going to come to Canada and I'm going to get a good job. And they don't end up getting the good job. Okay, let me skip a point. I'm going to say that immigration is quite difficult and lots of work needed to figure out which program works for you. So yes, immigration is kind of difficult and people fail because they can't figure out the right program. And ultimately, this is the last reason, they run out of time. Time is very important. As an international student, you get a 1 year or 3 year work permit, depending on which length of the program you studied it, and then you start running out of time. You know, once you graduate, you have to get yourself, like, draw a line, you know, get ready to jog, you know, like, just be ready. Like, some people, like, I have 3 years, I don't care, or 1 year, I'll get it done. But then for that particular immigration program, Canadian Experience class, next thing you know, you need to have at least 1 year of Canadian experience. It has to be one of those categories, tier categories, I think they call them now. So you have to have certain experience. You have to find the right job. So you're like, okay, I'll work as a cleaner in a restaurant, you know, temporarily. So there's a bunch of factors involved into it. Number one is some people don't want to take any kind of job. They have high expectations. That's why they fail. Other people don't want to start over again because they're like, I'm an international student, but it doesn't matter if you had a lot of experience and you were in a management role back home. People don't want to start over again. And then with all this stuff going through your mental well-being and the reality that you get in Canada, with the start line, if you haven't started and you haven't run towards a certain goal, if you don't know which immigration program you want to orient, if you don't know what's your immigration goal and how you're going to make it happen, soon enough you run out of that. 3 years would go by very fast, 1 year even faster. And I know people both ways who were able to get immigration done within 1 hour a year, and those people who were able to do within 3 years, and both sides people they went back home. Now, there's less of those who went for 3 years back home, but if you have 1 year work permit, you better hurry up. You have to get an employer. You have to find an employer. You have to be not so picky. It might not be the job you wanted to. It has to build your experience, have to be in a certain category to build enough experience in Canada so you increase your points, to increase your chances of immigration, let's say. So it's very time sensitive. And literally, I was counting my days. Oh, how much time do I have left? Oh, I'm almost a year in Canada. I haven't yet got the experience I need. And like, is it the right job, let's say? Did you find the right job? You're working a job, but it does not classify, doesn't qualify, and your employer doesn't want to help you with any of your paperwork, doesn't want to file you for a sponsorship, for a provincial program, or any of such things. You're in the wrong place. You better find another job. You better hurry up. Don't get too relaxed. Don't waste your time. So that's another reason is, with all these factors, all the challenges, not knowing what's going on, networking, your experience not being classified, being in the wrong province, being in the wrong city, applying through the wrong immigration program and not managing your time right, financing and all the expectations that you have. Guys, you know what I did in my first job? I was loading and unloading boxes, to be precise, about 9 containers in Nike warehouse coming from Indonesia, China and other countries, Bangladesh including, I believe. We were unloading those boxes into the factory, hand tossing for $10.25. Did it help me with immigration? No, but it did help me get another job that did help me with immigration. How awesome is that? So I built Canadian experience and I put a good name on the resume. Did it help me? Yes, of course it did. But if I stayed there longer than I needed to, I wouldn't be able to get the immigration done. So this is the key, guys, to manage your expectations and to success. And guys, not run out of time, not run out of money, to manage your expectations right, to get everything done, choose the right immigration program, find the right employer, and everything is time sensitive. It's a project, it needs to be done. I just went to another guy's home who studied with me in Centennial College from Ukraine. He purchased an amazing property here in Walden, and I went, and yesterday we spent some time in a sauna. I don't want to put a picture of myself in my underwear on the YouTube, but man, he built a nice sauna. The guy have multiple properties in Ontario and Calgary, built his own business. But just like myself, before getting to the successful stage of living a successful life in Canada, you have to get through immigration. You have to do what it takes, take the jobs that you can get and plan everything. So it's a project that is very time sensitive, and if you neglect any of these points that I just mentioned, you'd be on the list of those people who failed. It's a small list, but I want you to watch this video and be very successful, have multiple real estate properties, have your own businesses. And guys, honestly, I just wish you all the best with your immigration. It is possible and everything. Just do not delay. Do not delay. You graduate, don't go back to your home country for a 3 months vacation and then come back in Canada. Take jobs that you think might not be useful for you, but they still make some money and they help you get a better job in the future. Don't be too picky. Once you get done with your immigration, quit those jobs, find a job you like, you move around the country, do whatever the hell you want and be happy. That's all I want to say, guys. I wish you all the best and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.